The you kind of like this guy, but when you can't decide between the Filet-O-Fish or the Big Mac, and he says,
I'll get you both.
Thank you.
You definitely like this guy meal. Get it at McDonald's when you get 2 of your faves for just $5.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Single item at regular price.
You're now listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where 3 relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to the Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where 3 guys dissect culture and relationships through the lens of Sex and the City. I'm Cory Cavin.
I'm Kevin James Doyle.
My name is Jon Sieber.
And
today, it's the Bradshaw Boys Movie Club.
Welcome to the Movie Club.
Welcome to the Movie Club. The last episode in Movie Club of 2020.
man,
Get that popcorn out. Get those Junior Mints out. What is your favorite treats to eat at the movie theater?
I usually go Sour Patch Kids. I always do.
No popcorn? No
I
sodas?
go popcorn too. I go popcorn. And I
Really?
will usually do a Dr. Pepper if they have it. But a lot of times I just get a seltzer because I can't be just chugging soda, you know?
Yeah.
Metabolism is slowing down.
I always feel sick
just-
after I go to the movies.
It's the best. It's the best. What do you do? What's your...
Popcorn, candy, and soda.
You feel sick? Just
Yeah.
the full Monty?
Yeah. And usually I eat pretty healthy, so it's like it's not just if I ate pretty crappily and then went, I'd not feel good. But instead, it's my body just being like, popcorn doesn't process in your body at all. And then like 3 days later, I have kernels that are in the back of my teeth that I can't get out, and my bottom of my stomach feels on fire. It's just bad. It always is bad.
Dude,
Aren't you glad that MoviePass isn't around anymore?
Oh, man.
It would just be wrecking your body
Yeah.
all the time.
I mean,
There's nothing better, though, than just getting like the biggest thing of popcorn and just like the biggest thing of candy and just crushing it.
it's like
Just throwing down.
it's
Like 6,000 calories.
people with popcorn
so great.
are just
$43.
popcorn is water and you are a cup. So it's like however much popcorn you get, you will consume. Right? It's not
that's
like
true.
but then I've gotten a small before and I've eaten, like I've been fulfilled by the small. I even
totally.
have a little bit left over, but I look and I'm like, $6. I'm just paying $8 and I'll just gorge myself until I want to die before the climax of the film.
Did you ever see some of the ones that they were like, it was $6 for like the small and it was $8, but then they were like, or you could just pay $8.50 and it's the biggest one and it comes with 2 free refills.
Yeah, dude.
Just like like popcorn is worth nothing.
I think
it's worth.
I've sworn
It's infinite.
at cashiers that have up sold me like 4 times. They're like, you could do the medium. I'm like, all right. And then they're like, or the large, 25 more cents. I'm like, fuck you. Just give me the bucket and shut up. It's so.
I remember you did that one time. That guy, we almost got kicked out. You said
we
that
did
to
get
him.
kicked out. I also
We did get kicked
one time
out.
I did buy tickets. I did buy a senior ticket, and I was like, I told my friend, I was like, they never noticed. This was like the first year I lived in New York, so I made like 6 cents, and I just would.
That's just such a Kevin thing to do.
I know,
though.
and I got senior tickets, and I did it like all the time, and then I did it with my friend and convinced him to do it. And then we got through, and there was this guy who was like straight out of a movie. He was just like, and he was like, "You have a senior ticket." Like he was the most socially awkward person. And I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "This is not acceptable." And it was like the first time, and I got in trouble in front of like a group of people.
That's so good.
That's
That's so. What movie did we watch? Let's get into it.
I mean, you may know from what you already see in the notes, but I will say that this movie probably has maybe the greatest cast in film history. So
I won't fight you on that. I won't
I
fight
don't
you
know
on
if I'll
that
fight you on
statement.
that. I would say, I don't want to get into the semantics of dissecting that sentence because it's a large cast.
I mean,
It is a large cast.
I mean, even if
there are many stars in the cast.
I mean, Ludacris is in it. So what else do we need to talk about?
Yeah.
Oh,
Chris
I was
Bridges
very,
is in it.
I was very stoked that Luda was in the movie.
Wearing a police outfit that was way too big for him.
Yeah, for the longest time, I just thought he was a mall security guard because I was like, no cop fits into their uniform like that.
Listen,
Ludicrous Blart mall cop.
He was on a Segway the whole time.
ladies and gentlemen, we have a cast. We have a cast that is off.
Should you just read it? Do you just want to read like the
I want
first
to do
30
the full
people in the
introduction of the
cast?
film and then say it first.
Okay.
One of the greatest casts in film history, a Rotten Tomatoes score of 7%, with an audience score of 45%. Pretty impressive.
Oh.
A Metacritic score of 20%. I'm talking about the 2012 classic New Year's Eve. Wow.
It's a 2011. It's a 2011 classic.
But they said 12.
It came out in 2011.
Okay, I was looking at the 12 ball.
Yeah. It came out in 2011 as a prelude to everyone's 2012 New Year's Eve.
Man.
Yeah.
So did it come out like in the holiday
season?
It says
released on December 9th.
Oh yeah.
Big holiday movie in 2011. Sorry. It was directed by Gary Marshall, who created Happy Days and all of the spinoffs of Happy Days. And then he also directed Pretty Woman and a bunch of other big Hollywood movies.
He also directed.
So he directed
a Kate Hudson Aiden movie.
Really?
Raising Helen.
Runaway Bride?
Raising Helen.
Raising Helen.
Did
Raising
this
Helen.
this movie?
Julia Roberts was
Did it make like
Beaches also?
That's insane.
Did this make a boatload of money?
No,
at the box
this
office?
This movie grossed $142 million.
But it cost like 60. I mean, I think they thought this was going to make 400 million.
Yeah, but also this is what I want. This is what I wonder what was happening in 2011. I mean, they probably thought it was, but I mean, listen, to 2.5 times. If you 2.5 times your budget, that's definitely a success.
Oh yeah.
I think here's how I want to talk about this movie. I want to get into the cast. I want to get into the storylines. I want to get into the plots. But before we start, I want to take a general temperature of where we already watched it. This is not like the pod or the main feed where we're going to go away and watch it. We already watched the movie.
We already watched.
And I want us to rank this from 1 to 5 Cosmos just to see where the three of us are at. So instead of saving that for
right
the end,
now,
let's do that up top. So then we have, so then it'll help us understand how we're coming at this movie a little bit more.
Man,
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Do you want me to go first?
I want you to
go first.
Okay, I give it a 2.5. I am so in the middle of this movie. I'm not excited about it. I'm not mad about it. This movie, I'll never think about it again after this conversation. And it just is something that exists. It's like a bar stool. It's just like somewhere in a bar, there's a stool. I might sit on it. I might not sit on it. But it's there. And that's how I feel about this movie. I have I am not like angry it exists. I won't defend it's great because of the cast. It's a thing in the world. And that's all I can say about it. But I'm curious. I'm excited to talk about that.
I am giving it a 2.25. 2.25. I'm and we will talk about this as we go, but as we watched it, there were so many times where I was watching it by myself in my room. We're all on holiday break right now. And I was in my childhood room watching it, and I audibly said to myself, God, I hate this movie multiple times. But
it still gets a 2.25?
Yeah, because it's like bad movie popcorn. It fills you up. You feel pretty terrible afterward. But like it was afterward, you're like, hey, remember when we went and had all that popcorn? We'll probably do it again at some point. Like it was a fun experiment and it was crazy. I also feel like we'll get into this, but like, I don't know if I guess you could make movies like this again. I'm sure they will, but it was like, this was a time when they were just like, yeah, dude, we're freaking throwing it all in. Everyone's going to lose their mind. Like this was like, I feel like this movie feels like the TV show American Idol, where everyone's just excited about everything all the time.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, that's amazing.
Dude,
and also we talked about this, but like there, one of the redeeming things is, and I'm not just saying this because we watch Sex and the City, but I do feel like the SJP scenes like feel a little more redeeming. You see how she's a pretty great actress and is like grounding.
You're just more used to seeing her running around in heels in New York City.
Yeah, that's true. You only get one scene of that here. That's true. Now she's got clogs. Anyway, that's where I'm coming from.
The interesting thing about this movie, though, and you just talking about your experience with it, is I think I would have really loved to see this in theaters with like the two of you. Like if they re-released this movie in theaters and I could go eat a bunch of garbage popcorn and go with a big group of people, I think I would pay to go do that.
It would be a fun movie, like those midnight showings where like you like anytime Chris Bridges comes to the screen, everyone's got to go Luda. Yeah, like, you have to just yell things out like that. We got to get Alamo to do it. Anyway, that's where I'm coming from.
Kevin, where are you at?
Okay, we have to watch the movie before this at some point, I think, because this is a sequel. This is not.
Oh yeah,
this is true. The sequel to Valentine's Day. Okay, Valentine's Day made a
same cast,
same writer. No,
not same cast. It's same writer, same director.
So they were
some of the same cast. Ashton Kutcher's in both.
Is Ludacris in it?
Dude, we need to create.
I think Ludacris did the prop styling for Valentine's Day.
We need to create the GMEU, the Gary Marshall Extended Universe.
Dude, imagine all the sweet origin stories we could have.
Well, there's a one after this. Gosh. There's Mother's Day after this. Same writer director.
No.
Yes.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
Oh man, I'm actually. We have to do this next one in person.
Mother's
just
Day.
Get like a bunch of snacks.
Dude, how fucking great would it be if they did Flag Day? They literally just went through everything.
It's like the Sufjan Stevens trying to do all the 50 states, but they just try to do every holiday. It's like Gary Marshall's holiday project.
All right, so
Mother's Day seems very much more scaled down.
Jason Sudeikis was in it. Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
Okay, Gary Marshall directed it, but we don't have Catherine Fugate.
Catherine
on the writing, and you could tell that the whole time. Okay, so
I was gonna say
I give it.
Yeah, it was a Tom Hines movie.
You gave 2.5, John. You gave 2.25, Cory, right?
Yeah.
I'm giving it 3.5, which based on
there's Sex and the City episodes that you've given like way less.
Listen, based on
I'm happy about this.
Listen, this is why context is everything. If you watched Citizen Kane on your iPod click wheel tiny screen and you were doing dishes, you may not totally think that's the greatest film of all time. If my sister asked me to watch this and I spent my evening that I thought was going to be with friends and I watched this with my sister, I'd be really mad at my sister. But creating a context in which I could watch this movie and hang out with you guys and talk about it raised the enjoyment level. Like anytime Zac Efron would say the dumbest fucking line of all time, knowing that I was like doing it for like a reason made me just be like, I'm enjoying every storyline. I'm excited to see where they go back to. I think it's hilarious. There were so many things that I probably would have laughed in the theater. Last Christmas I watched Cats and I loved it. Like it was one of the most enjoyable theatrical experiences of my life. Just hanging out and watching Cats and like cracking up. And this was like that, but then there was a few times that I was like, oh. So
there were I get that. I feel like I go ahead. Sorry.
So I give it a 3.5 for like, and I'll say part of that is like, I will say 3.25 of those points are non-ironic.
Okay, that's where we differ.
And
that's good. That's good.
0.25 of them. So that's, and then 0.25 of them is just how bad it was. But I really did enjoy it. I really did.
See, I would say I 100% agree with the context thing, and that is why mine is raised to a 2.25. And I thought Efron was like fun, but I would say that all of my points are non-ironic. And probably 1.5 of them are grace points. I'm like, it wasn't a good movie. But
I would be curious to see.
I'm really excited to talk about it. I think it's going to be really fun to talk about.
So for those of you who aren't going to see the movie or who are unfamiliar with this genius movie, there's about 10 storylines, maybe 6 storylines that are all happening. Each storyline has the star power of a legit blockbuster movie.
100%.
Like even the weakest storyline that comes in at like 40 minutes in the story, like right when you think you've seen every celebrity, you see Robert De Niro laying in a hospital bed and you're like, Robert De Niro's in it? And then his nurse walks in and it's the guy from Princess Bride, Carrie Ewells. And you're like, him? And then he walks out of there and he walks out and then Halle Berry walks in. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Did you guys notice there's another time? Did you notice that near the end, Alyssa Milano is one of the maternity nurses and they don't even she doesn't even get a full close up. She's just there almost as an extra. And I kept being like, is that Alyssa Milano?
Yeah. And
that's
Common is in it. And I don't think he has a line either.
No, he does. He's the husband. He's Halle Berry's husband.
He's Halle Berry's husband that's away at war.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so there's probably like 10 or 12 different storylines. Each storyline has like all these, but I would be curious to see how many minutes each storyline actually gets. The movie is 120 minutes. Yeah. I think each storyline probably only gets 8 minutes, 10 minutes of actual screen time.
It's 2 hours.
Which is 120 minutes.
That is correct.
So if you take 12 storylines divided by 120
Go on
minutes,
with what you're saying. Edit this out. Stop. Edit this out.
Balon, edit this out.
Edit this out, please.
Whatever you do.
Please, for the love of God, edit
Balon,
this out.
Please. Balon, can you keep this in but boost the volume? Boost the volume on
please,
the section.
I'm begging you guys. Please edit this out. I was too.
Dude, you watch this movie one time and you just lose all your ability to tell time.
Lose logic.
But the storylines they have to be really short. I think the Robert De Niro one was probably 4 minutes of actual screen time. So you don't get to actually ever know a single character. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, or it's like an hour and 20 minutes into the story, and Robert De Niro is blathering unconsciously about his wife, and you're like, what?
Wait.
What?
John,
should I have known this about the character?
I think we should break down. We should go through each storyline. But before I forget, one of my favorite parts was when Robert De Niro is on his deathbed, and Halle Berry he's like, why didn't we ever do anything? And she's like, that nurse? And he's like, oh yeah. He clearly just cheated on her and fucked another nurse. And he forgets it for a second.
That's what I'm saying. It's there's this whole plot point of this character that it's trying to build and describe. And it's just such a throwaway. It's oh yeah. And then I gotta say, the best part of the whole movie is when Mikey Bloomberg just gets up on stage.
Oh my gosh,
dude,
that was amazing!
Mini Mike,
Mike Bloomberg in it.
Mini Mike
Bloomberg strolling up there.
All right.
Also, I just forgot when you said that Ryan Seacrest was in this movie.
Yeah.
He is forgettable because he's a bigger part at the beginning, and then he just shows up with Mike to arguably do the biggest thing in the movie, drop the ball. But you kind of forget that Seacrest is ever.
And then they realized that the screenwriter already did that.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I don't know if I can summarize this movie. There's too much going on.
How about we do this? How about
I have the cast up right here.
Talk about it 2 ways. Let's talk about it 2 ways. Yeah, we got the cast. Let's say there's this happening, and then we'll just know it's going to get too confusing if we're but then you find out there with them.
We're just going to go through.
So what if we just kind of let's just. What are you saying?
I'm saying we go by cast. For example, we'd be Michelle Pfeiffer and Zac Efron, and then we just go through it, and then we start at the beginning and go to the next one. And when there's tie-togethers, we can mention it.
Yeah, okay. Believe it or not, this movie is actually more confusing than a Christopher Nolan, Tenet, or Inception type movie, just because of the amount of people in it. It's a big wall with pictures and red string and yarn going everywhere.
It's Pepe Silva.
Yeah.
It's Pepe Silva creating the schematic on the wall It's Homeland. It's all of that.
But just because there's so many people and stories happening.
Also, we should say that the premise of like all these people together, the premise is that New Year's Eve is the most magical night where the most magical things are possible, and forgiveness and second chances are there more than ever on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
That's like what keeps running through the thing.
And that's what they want you to go into seeing Mother's Day thinking. Forgiveness is possible.
Forgiveness is possible. Also, I do want to say, for 3 New Yorkers, have you ever spent New Year's Eve in Times Square before?
I've never spent New Year's Eve in New York before.
I've never been in New York
City. You've never
City
spent New Year's Eve in New York before?
I've never been in New York City for
neither one of you.
One time, 2010.
Oh my gosh! I would say probably almost at least a third, maybe half the years. And one time, very early on, I walked through Times Square. You know that part where they're like sweeping up all the trash and like they're like sweeping up all the streamers? I walked through Times Square with my date that night, and we took like pictures with cops. And it was like the one night where it was like that was a magical New Year's Eve thing where it was like, oh my gosh, like the ball just dropped. And then like we went to a party somewhere downtown. But for the most part, being in Times Square on New Year's Eve would be horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I lived on 46 between 8th and 9th, and like the 29th or 30th of December, I would just had to get out of there. It would just.
And Kevin and I both used to work in Times Square, and so it's like it's all of us can attest that time of year is very rough,
brutal.
There's this movie called 13 Conversations About One Thing, and I watched it when it came out, so it was like early in my movie watching. So I was 16 when this movie came out, and it like blew my mind. I don't know how it holds up, but it is set in New York City, and it is the lives of a bunch of different people intertwining, and it was like a really great movie. But it has McConaughey, John Turturro, those are the 2 biggest names. But it was like this. I feel like this movie is based on like Magnolia. Was like that whole thing that it's like all these different storylines tied together by one tiny
I would
thing.
I would say this was better than Magnolia, but keep going.
But I feel like it was like a pretty popular thing for a while. That was like, and this, like, it always is satisfying when there's like, you're watching a whole thing and then it's like, oh my gosh, Zac Efron is that girl's uncle. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty satisfying. But
you know, there's those other movies like Paris Je T'aime.
Yeah.
And New York, I Love You, which are like anthology movies that tie together all these things too. And then
is that what you call this, an anthology movie?
No, this one's not, because it all takes place. Like I think the anthology movies are kind of like the ones that's like maybe this is, but this one the stories run together more. They're not their own encapsulated thing. The stories connect more, so it's not like an anthology movie.
So
I don't think.
Why don't we start with Efron Pfeiffer?
Hey there, the holidays are here, so it's good to know Kroger can save you some time with free pickup on all your fresh favorites. Whether your traditions call for a hearty helping of juicy ham, ample apple pie, or Aunt Sue's legendary twice stuffed stuffing, Kroger has got you covered. So order for free pickup at Kroger.com or the app and get more time to get your holiday on when you grab your groceries curbside. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
All right.
Okay. So the Efron Pfeiffer story. So let's say this before we get into Efron Pfeiffer. And if you've watched the movie, you know this, but there's so much happening. It's like the beginning of a musical when it's like, people are going out, getting their coffee, and it's like, hello, I'm walking here. Look out, New York City. And so Efron Pfeiffer, she's walking to work. Pfeiffer
falls in trash because she almost gets hit by a taxi, which she said she almost died later on. I was like, you were fine.
Was just trying to, squeeze out a few extra bonus days. All right.
She was trying to walk into that. Yeah, exactly. And trying to use her health insurance or something to get hit by that cab. And then a classic New York City construction worker who always walks down the sidewalk in a vest and a hat and a helmet, tries to give her a hand, and she refuses his help. And then she walks into Ahern Records,
which is run by John Lithgow.
I totally forgot. Yeah. Who's in it for 10 seconds playing 10 Angry Birds?
I know. Which wait, here's a real question. He doesn't give her the bonus. He's clearly like a Grinchy type guy. But then he's like, things were good. But then they cut to him playing Angry Birds. And do you think that was a paid? It
had to be,
because that and Phillips were the two big ones that I was like, oh, Phillips definitely.
And
no, Nivea
was huge in Times Square. That was a big thing. All right, well let's go to the Efron. Let's not get lost.
Well, Efron.
Let's continue with the Efron thing.
He's like a delivery guy. He's a
bike messenger.
He doesn't have a bike. He has a Vespa, which is stupid.
No, but he shows up on a bike at first. The Vespa is revealed later. Okay. He shows up on a bike at first. And this is also a world of movies, but also New York City, where you can be a young, hot bike messenger, walk in with no credentials, walk your way through the office, pick up snacks off people's desks and eat them, and then walk through and
then yell at people
and
for
just
not
hit
remembering.
on tons of yell at people, and also just hit on tons of women in the office. There's a lot of like very close to catcalling and just people trying to kiss people who aren't ready for it in this movie. That happens many times. So Efron's walking through.
He's like a little thicker too. He's like thick Zac Efron. He's not his like his Baywatch shape.
Yeah. He is like shredded now. But this is him having like a 6-pack, but like not an impressive one.
But still,
have you guys seen him in his new travel show? In his new travel show where he goes around the world? No, he's even taken days off of bike messaging in his new travel show.
We have a close friend of the pod that worked on a movie with him, and says nothing but incredible things about Zac
I bet
Efron.
he
I've heard
seems
he's like the nicest guy in the world.
From watching him in this movie, like these are the things that redeem something for me. The like charm and charisma that he just has, even with like just acting with Michelle Pfeiffer and stuff. I was like, that guy's a 1000% star. Incredibly attractive. He looks. I bet he's the nicest dude ever.
Zach, come on the pod.
Best.
Let's talk.
Zach, come on the pod. You can give us your workout routine. You're more shredded than we'll ever be.
In the same spirit, they're like, who can we get for like some like annoying homely little person that no one would ever want to spend time with? Perfect casting. Let's get Michelle Pfeiffer, one of the sexiest women of all time
actresses ever.
And it's like good acting, like, but nice.
We'll give her some mousy hair. Yeah, we'll give her some mousy hair and call her, different. I don't know. It was like,
she's a couple sandwiches short of a picnic.
Exactly.
One of the things that people said in the thing is that there should be a spinoff of their storyline, because I think people really wanted more of it, because basically she spends the entire day. He's like fulfilling her kind of yearly bucket list.
Kind of.
They go to Radio City. She rides on the Vespa, and then she takes him. She drives the Vespa.
Well, we should say she has tickets to a party that she will give him.
Yes.
If he fulfills her bucket list. So
she walks in, she quits her job in front of Lithgow, and he finds out she's got these tickets. And then she's like, and then she leaves the building, and he's like trying to get his buddy Ashton Kutcher to be like, what are we doing tonight? And then she just finds him on the sidewalk and says, I'm your next gig. I'll pay you for the rest of the day, and you get these tickets to this party if you can fulfill my life bucket list for me and make it all happen. And it's the most outrageous things.
Speaking of tickets, if you guys haven't seen Kevin James Doyle's comedy special 30-Year-Old Virgin, there's a really good "you got the tickets" joke in there.
Really great joke about tickets in that.
And listen, it's one storyline. There's not any of this other. It's just one.
It's one guy. Although there are some celebrity cameos in your thing. There's a celebrity that pops up throughout the thing.
Okay, so Zac Efron's best friend is, of course, Ashton Kutcher.
Of course.
Now, Kutch.
And Ashton Kutcher.
What a grump. Is
it Kutcher or Kutcher?
Kutcher.
What a sour.
Kutcher.
Kutcher. Oh, it's
no,
Kutcher.
it's Kutcher. It's Ashton Kutcher.
Kutcher.
And the Cooch, he's not a big fan of. There's a lot of people like this out there, but they're certainly not Ashton Kutcher. Okay. Like I will say this: the people that are like Ashton Kutcher in real life are called incels.
He was an incel in this
I know.
movie. He was an incel, and Fife was like a shut-in, but he was like an incel.
I get so he's someone who hates New Year's. He hates the hype of it. He hates the drama of it, and I get it. I think New Year's, for the most part, is an excuse for like businesses to upcharge, to charge more. There's usually a lot of pressure for it to be this great night, and then it traditionally it's like any other night. It falls flat. It never was like this big thing. I mean, so I get where he's coming from.
That's why we leave every year. Like,
yeah,
I do that because I want to ring in the new year, not with the pressure of having to kiss someone and the pressure of all like, I like being with the people that I like, because I guess what I find interesting about this movie is it does get correct, like the weight of it. There's just, they couldn't afford to, this isn't a criticism because I think the movie could have been done better, and I think it had to be hopeful, but there was like that, the simple fix of this is like, have a little weight to the fact that like, it's not great for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, I actually do think there's a perfect version of this movie, and Love Actually does it really well. Love Actually has like some weight to the stories, and not every dream is fulfilled. True. So,
well, you need to. It was trying to just do way too much. You need to prune the stories like in half in order to give the characters like enough. I don't know.
You're cutting me out, Mayor Bloomberg, cutting me out. Shut up! I'll never give you a permit again. All right, so Cooch.
Okay,
Cooch.
Yeah, so Cooch. Yeah, the Cooch.
He's kind of like a Brooklyn loft guy. I don't know if they're in Brooklyn, but that's definitely the vibe of like, I have a big loft, and he gets stuck in the elevator with noted nightmare on sets, Leah Michele.
Ooh, really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this year was a lot of drama about the Glee set.
Her and
Katherine Heigl is supposed to be like that.
That's
too.
What I thought. Both these people,
and that movie is
are
full
known
of
to be pretty rough on sets. That's what the Page 6 rumors say. So
everybody knew that Gary Marshall loved a little drama on set. Gary Marshall was a freak for that kind of thing.
So they get stuck on an elevator, and then she's
like what's her name?
Leah
Michele.
Leah Michele.
Is she famous enough to be dramatic on set?
Yeah.
I feel like
she was one of the stars of Glee.
When Glee was the biggest,
one of the stars of the show.
Yeah. And that show was like massive.
She was pretty famous.
A few years. But I think also like no one is. You know what I mean? Like even people finding out about Johnny Depp, it's sort of just like, hey man, like no one's that cool. Especially when there are people that are that cool, that are the biggest, that are awesome,
Yeah.
Especially when people find out that Tom Hanks is like the nicest person on earth and very normal. Yeah.
Or SJP, great example.
SJP, Zac Efron, so we've heard.
So he gets
Chris Bridges, Ludacris.
One of the I think one of the best plot lines of New Year's Eve was they're stuck in this elevator. You definitely think they're gonna have this chance to make out. Clearly, like it's two hot people on an elevator. Why wouldn't they take advantage of one another in this time and just be like, hey, we're stuck here. Let's go. She takes off her like coat and then reveals this like sexy form-fitting dress and is like, oh, pick me up. I'm going to get out of this. Like it's Mission Impossible from the top. Mm-hmm. Very dangerous if you've seen Mission Impossible. It doesn't happen. And then right when they're about to kiss, what happens?
The elevator
starts working.
Oh no, the elevator starts again and like lurches for it. And I
loved it.
I will tell
caught
you,
me off guard.
I mentioned this to you guys. I've never seen this movie, but I did read that exact scene in an acting class that I took.
That's the one you read.
That's the one.
Oh my
and the thing that made me the thing that was so funny is I remember this is like when we did the class. We did it, and I was like, what is this from? And they were like, it's New Year's Eve. It's Ashton Kutcher and Leah Michele. And I was like, oh, it's been produced, this thing? And I remember when we read it, at the end, me and the girl doing it, we were doing it in front of the class, and we leaned in, and then we like lurched forward with the elevator. And then the guy was like, no. You got to do the kiss. I was like, what are you talking about? It says in the script. He's like, no, it doesn't. This is this is scene structure. This is what you need to learn. You got to learn to read a script. And then I went back and watched the movie and I was like, they don't kiss.
That is
They
really
don't
funny.
kiss.
The script. That's what, and he was like, blew everybody up. He was like, they kiss. But they don't, because that keeps the story going forward.
Yeah.
And that leads her, because then she gets out and goes to Times Square and forgets her Fitbit or whatever it is.
And now
It looks like one of her Disney hotel room key bracelets. If you've ever been to Disney recently.
She forgot her fast pass.
The magic bracelet fast pass. Yeah.
this is my favorite line in the show, in the movie. My favorite line in the movie was he's like, why don't you sing for me? And she's like, whoa. The only time I sing for an audience of one is in the shower. And I'm like, well, if that's true, then that's yourself. So there's two people. Like, the logic of that is off. So I was like, clearly not everyone's thinking that. But I was just like, that logic makes complete no sense. And then he doesn't respond to me like, an audience of one would be, we're not in a shower. Then there'd be two people based on what you're saying.
I really wish that's how that storyline ended. Just him getting very into semantics. No. You said one. No.
Do you count or not? I'm just trying to figure out how your brain works, Leah. I mean, you can sing, but clearly you can't count. Gosh. Another shitty year. Because I'm stuck on an elevator with some idiot who can't count. Also, here's another funny logic thing, is that when she does finally sing,
I like how that's what burns you up in that movie. There's so many nuanced so many big plot things that you have problems with, and it's the fact that she said audience. Anyway, go ahead.
I just imagine saying it to the writer and her being like so devastated to be like, oh my gosh, so humiliated. But the other funny thing to imagine is that when she finally does sing for Ashton Kutcher, that she's only, take Jon Bon Jovi out of it, because he's singing and then she's singing the other riffs and the harmonies. So if you cut that out, then Ashton Kutcher is just listening to her in between riffs and then harmonies, doesn't know the melody or anything. So it's just like, the song makes no sense. It's like super avant-garde and very this is going places I don't really musically understand.
Yeah. He's just this Brooklyn hipster that's super into it. He's like, I thought you were a pop singer, but you're doing this Mongolian throat singing
oh my
shit.
Gosh.
I can really get into this.
This is shit. Do you like Bjork? This sounds like Bjork or something. Oh man.
Oh. So she ends up leaving. Their storyline ends with him going back and meeting her, giving her bracelet back, and then watching her in the crowd, and he kisses her. And then, because of a thing that we won't get through the tie-ins, for some reason, the main singer that everyone wants to see just lets his backup singer sing the final song at midnight for the world, which makes zero sense.
There's a great scene that's really brief where someone tries to put a Nivea hat on Ashton Kutcher, and he's like, no, and he pushes the person away.
Yes. All right, so that's their storyline.
So I guess that ties into Jon Bon Jovi,
Jensen.
Jon Bon Jovi of Sex and the City fame.
Yes.
Cool, because he was in it, right?
Yeah,
that was the
Corey and I were texting the other day about Jon Bon Jovi as a joke, and then I found a People magazine of him up here. I didn't realize he's married for 40 years to his high school sweetheart.
Yeah, he's been married to the same woman the whole time.
Maybe you shouldn't just randomly throw jokes out about him.
I honestly,
maybe you should start that conversation by, Corey and I were texting each other about how much we admire Jon Bon Jovi's relationship.
I know.
And then
that's where it went. It was us making fun of this cover that he did. And then I was just like, oh, that's good. And he gives homeless people food. This guy, Jensen's not so bad.
Dude, he's like Guy Fieri. Everyone makes fun of Guy Fieri. He's isn't he the best dude in the world?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's number one bro, man.
I'm sure he's great.
He's great. You look up all the things Guy Fieri has done just in COVID alone.
Well, just in general, I mean, that was this whole plot line that Katherine Heigl doesn't want to be with Jon Bon Jovi, but he wants to take Katherine Heigl to Flavortown. And
Which is interesting because she's a chef and he's like, no, in order for your chef career to work out, you got to come to Flavortown. You got to get inspired.
So Katherine Heigl and Jon Bon Jovi's characters were engaged. He left to go be a singer, and she is a caterer who is catering the party with Sofia Vergara and some other people.
And Russell Peters, one of the biggest stand-up comedians in the world. You know that? Do you know Russell Peters, John?
No.
I mean, he makes $150 million a year doing stand-up.
What?
He's like one of the biggest comedians in the world. And they were like, and he talks all about like being Indian and Indian stereotypes. And they just like, a lot of his comedy is about like breaking those down. And him and Sofia Vergara are like the worst.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, it's insane.
Don't you? I mean, it was really, there was a thing in the movie where it's like people just like really just went in for the stereotypes because they were just like, hey, this is what it is. It's full of celebrities. There's a ton of money. Just do the accent. And he was like, fine. It was so stereotypical.
Oh man.
So bad.
But
that's
go. It's just, I mean, Sofia Vergara at one point was the biggest television star on television, and Russell Peters is one. Like, so those are just two more side parts. Like, those are massive stars.
Yeah. Do you think they hung out and they're like in their super small porta potty trailers with Alyssa Milano, and they're like, "What in the world are we doing here?"
Yeah, they're just like.
Then they were both like, "What? Alyssa Milano's in this movie?"
Yeah,
they had no idea. No one had any idea.
And Gary Marshall's just like, "I was the one that came up with the shark. He would jump over it. That was me."
Also, speaking of small cameos, Matthew Broderick pokes his head in there.
Broderick rolls in later out of the limo because he's the head of. Okay, so real quick, let's tie up the let's tie up this Jon Bon Jovi thing. Mm-hmm. Jon Bon Jovi is a musician named Jensen who loves to wear giant necklaces on top of his t-shirts, and everyone loves this musician. It's like a very like it feels like Daughtry or something like that. That's like out of American Idol, and him and Heigl. She like straight up slaps him in the face a few times.
Couple times.
Hard slaps. Yep, abusive.
Those were,
and then they get together.
Those were not even when the camera just happened to be rolling. That wasn't acting. That was just Katherine Heigl on set. That's just how she behaves.
Yeah, that's what it was.
that was just a hot take of Jon Bon Jovi bringing her the wrong flavor Perrier water.
I said lemon.
So yeah, they get back together at the end, and Leah Michele is his backup singer. That's how that ties together. Then
and finally,
there's the whole thing.
Heigl, I mean, they get together by the end, obviously.
Yeah. They get together. Yeah, they end up back together.
But she's catering the party of the record label that Michelle Pfeiffer worked at, and
that John Lithgow runs. Although the guy who was like the owner apparently died last year. And Cherry Jones, that was Cherry Jones, right?
Also one of the Tony Awards.
Yeah, one of the greatest actresses of stage and screen. Cherry Jones, her husband used to run that record label, and she is doing this party, and her son is Josh Duhamel. Josh Duhamel.
You guys may make fun of me. Unironically, one of my favorite actors.
Dude,
I'm gonna say.
Have you seen Win a Date with Tad Hamilton?
I have seen Win a Date with Tad Hamilton.
I've never seen that movie.
I love that movie.
That's the only movie that, other than Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, that's made me cry.
Wow.
Have you seen it, Corey?
No, I've never seen it.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, I was going through some rough times in my life, and I watched that.
Man, we should.
Topher Grace, Josh Duhamel from the TV show Las Vegas. If you guys ever were sick from school, you probably watched that.
Never saw that.
It was on USA.
Josh Duhamel is unironically one of the most handsome people around.
100%.
He's very, very, very.
I like Josh Duhamel.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
I bet he's great too.
I want to go on like a little road trip with him and Timothy Olyphant so bad, and just like
him and Timothy
hang out with good-looking older guys
are like the same actor with different paths. Like Olyphant's been like Prestige, HBO, TV, done all these in Justified, Deadwood, and then Duhamel is like more the rom-com guy.
Yeah.
We're getting way off topic. We have so much more of this movie to cover. We've covered 2 storylines. We haven't even talked about the Times Square Alliance, which, as you know, as New Yorkers, that's one of the most prestigious and important things in New York City. How did everyone care about the freaking Times Square Alliance? That was like, it was like Command Center, and it was Hilary Swank ran the Times Square Alliance, or she was like the person who's supposed to drop the ball.
2-time Academy Award winner.
Yeah.
With her and her best friend, who is Chris Ludacris Bridges,
who was a cop,
who was just a beat cop, or was he like a lieutenant?
I don't know, but apparently I think they do this job together every year. For some reason, he can't see his wife and kids. We find that out near the end of the movie, that his wife and kids show up to see him again. But like the whole time, you're kind of meant to think that him and Hilary Swank are either like best friends or maybe had a thing. And also they kind of, sort of in the same way we were talking about how they typecast Sofia Vergara in them, they definitely typecast, or maybe it was an acting choice, but Chris Bridges, Ludacris, is very downplayed and wise the whole time. And everything he says is like, hey, listen, I know that ball ain't going to drop, but one thing I'm not going to drop is you. Let's get you back up.
And
there.
Also,
dude, can we talk about the cop whose one line in the movie was "make a hole, people"?
Yes,
he says it like 5 different times.
Also, there was a thing.
I didn't even know that was Hilary Swank.
There was they were like, basically New Year's Eve is like the day that they need the most cops on hand around New York City. But apparently one of the top ranking one is like, nah, I'm just going to hang out with the lady from the Times Square Alliance most of the day. Thanks. They're like, but wait, don't you have a whole bunch of people you need to direct? She's like, no, I'm just going to tell her she can do it.
No.
And what her job is also, I don't know if you guys have seen TV, but the way that they get all of that confetti is they just have 4 New Yorkers that normally are construction workers throwing it.
They just throw. There's no cannons. They just throw it.
And then she's
off
like,
the
it
top
has
of that
to
building.
spread out. It's like,
spread it out.
You're gonna lose.
So Kevin, Broderick was the head of the Times Square Alliance, who tells her if she doesn't get the ball to drop, she's got to find a new job.
And she's down on the street, and Broderick rolls up in a limo and gets out. And the way he explains to her about how important it is, he talks about the 1986 World Series between the Mets and the Red Sox.
Like that would click. Like that would click with her for some reason. She's
At one point, she makes
I know him.
Yeah, she makes eye contact with a cop who's also in the story, and he's like, I don't know what he's talking about. and then he says, but he dropped the ball, and so you better not drop the ball. And then she's like, I won't drop the ball, but I will get the ball to drop, which is another semantics thing. But everyone really, really cares about. People do care about the ball. They do. But okay, I want to talk about this real quick. I want to talk about this though.
Okay, go ahead. And then we have to
because we got to tie it in.
We haven't even gotten to SJP yet.
There's so much. I do want to talk about this though. Okay, the ball at one point shorts out, which is a big deal. I mean, all 3 of us have worked in production scenarios where it's like, we got to make this thing happen. So that is a big deal. But for some reason, at some point, while they're trying to get some guy named Comiskey or something, who's like he's coming to fix the ball, they let Hilary Swank get on TV and give a heartfelt speech about being able to fix the electronic ball, and it is broadcast to all of New York City,
all of the world,
all of the world,
the whole world sees it.
Hours before, about how we're working on the ball.
It was so inspiring that Mike Bloomberg wanted to come invite her to his mansion or something like that.
The only other person who's had the world reach that she did is Osama bin Laden in his like spider hole talks. I mean, like she gives this thing, and it like really sets the tone for New Year's Eve for the world.
That's the power of the Times Square Alliance, man.
The Times Square Alliance
you're part
is
of the
so
Times Square
important.
Alliance. You made it.
I mean, this is
so we find out that Hilary Swank's father is Robert De Niro.
Yes,
who's dying in the hospital
refusing treatment
with
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. And in the same hospital, we have Seth Meyers and Jessica Biel.
Yep, Seth Meyers and Jessica Biel, Sarah.
To put a little cap on the Hilary Swank thing, I will say there's not normally, besides like the wedding planner or something, you normally don't see a job like that portrayed in movies of the person that just has to get shit done. And it wasn't the best portrayal of that, because I think she would have been rushing around a little more and less like having long scenes of being like, what are we going to do? But you kind of like saw the emotion. Like I wanted to talk to our friend like Jenny and be like, hey, that's like the first time I've seen like something you do like portrayed on screen, like big time event planner. So and she has to do all this while she's worrying about her dad dying.
Yeah, that's true. And you don't find out that her dad is the one. Although I will say, I'd also like to talk to my friend Jenny to be like, if you're planning a big event, once things get solved, are you allowed to just hand off the radio and leave set?
Yeah.
Because right before the end, she was like, I'm leaving this one to Ludacris. And just hands it to him. And then, or no, she hands it to the old mechanic. And then just leaves.
Handle this.
Dude, what if she handed it over to Ludacris and he got back on the broadcast of the entire world, which is like
just freaking freestyle.
Move, bitch! Get out the way! Get out the way, bitch!
We've
Dude,
got
that would
hose. We've got hose.
All right.
Area.
All right. Next, what's the next one?
Okay,
we got?
so then
Lee Michelle's in the elevator just singing area.
Also, wait. She goes up and gets her dad. De Niro wheels him out so he can see the ball drop. Next time we see her dad's dead, which it's quick death. But like, I kind of feel like, what if he died because she just left him outside?
Okay.
And so they're in the same hospital in which
same hospital as
Seth, and apparently Hilary Swank was also in the where they deliver babies, the delivery unit, because that's where Seth Meyers and Jessica Biel are in a competition to see who can have the first baby delivered on New Year's Day. They're competing against Hugo Stieglitz from Inglourious Bastards.
Yep, that's right. And Sarah Paulson.
And Sarah Paulson
from the Bird Box movie and many other movies.
And I think that's pretty much that whole storyline, right?
Yeah. And I will say, I thought I really enjoyed Seth Meyers and Jessica Biel. I thought they were very funny together.
Yeah.
I thought they were great.
And then let's see here. You have Halle Berry, who can't celebrate New Year's, one of the nurses, because her husband is in Iraq. Common. And then the last storyline, are we missing anything? I mean, I guess we missed like Josh Duhamel's journey on the camper to get to New Year's.
There was definitely like a Home Alone vibe that was like, hey, we can give you a ride.
Yeah, planes, trays, automobiles.
But this is how deep this cast goes. Do you? I bet Corey knows. Do you know who the woman was on that bus? The mom?
Yes, she was.
That's the voice of Bart Simpson.
Yes, it's Nancy Cartwright, right? Was that Nancy Cartwright?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So
yeah.
So they're like at the church, whatever. Josh Duhamel basically it's based on the movie. What's the movie? Sleepless in Seattle. And then also like any movie where it's like, we have to meet at a place at a specific time.
Like Meet Me Back Here. It's also like Before Sunset. If you think about that, like it's basically just like meet me here.
A Time to Remember something. It's a Cary Grant movie where they meet at the top of Empire State Building. But
okay. Oh yeah.
An Affair to Remember. Great movie. All right. So he has to get back to that, but he's like, I don't care about this. And he said, a year from now, that's insanity. And then the guy's like, insanity? That's not insanity. That's serendipity.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
Ooh.
The other storyline is who's going to take SJP?
You got it.
Well, her daughter, Abigail Breslin of Little Miss Sunshine, is going to find some dude who's, she wants to hang out. So she leaves the house. Not cool. She goes all the way. SJP has to follow her all throughout the city on a big romp. And then right when she gets through all the people into the front of where the ball drops, it'd be impossible to find someone there. She sees the dude smooching someone else. Another great storyline in it. SJP's mad and upset following her daughter all day, but then she sees her daughter turn around heartbroken that he was smooching another girl. And SJP...
The guy looked like a little miniature Justin Bieber, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was like a very handsome child actor. Yeah.
Junior Bieber, yeah.
They go over to Stardust Diner, where the singing diner that I live in 3L, I live in 3L, the girls in 3R in my apartment are singers at Stardust Diner, or singing in face mass right now. And then SJP basically is like, hey, you're still grounded, but you can go to Hard Rock Cafe for the after party. There's going to be tons of blow. There's going to be tons of Stay up all night. Go nuts.
Like, that's not how grounding someone works.
You don't tell someone they're still grounded and tell them they
you
can
don't
go
say
to
like
an
I'm
exclusive
so
after
mad at
party.
you, I'm grounded, but you can go to the after party. Your grounding will start. It's not like you murder someone and then you go to a murder trial and you're like, your jail sentence doesn't have to start until like after you do this.
That
thing.
is true, but there are people that have to like report to jail, so that if it's non-violent, so maybe it's like white collar crime. SJP considered it to be like next Monday.
She put an ankle bracelet on her.
She has an ankle bracelet, but she's a costume designer at Radio City Music Hall.
Yes. Yep.
So this whole time you don't know who Josh Duhamel is looking to connect with because they had this magical connection, but for some reason we're like, I don't know, let's give it a year. We're adults. We have another year to waste at age 43.
Yep.
To just like. But and then they go to the broken down Italian restaurant.
La Gambina Trattoria. Hey, La Gambina Trattoria.
Are they
Come
in?
I get an eggplant parmesan.
Are they in Little Italy?
Yeah, I think so. They're in an Italian. He goes to an Italian restaurant that has been raised on like the corner of Mulberry and Grand or something like that. And he's just there, and he's like, "Oh, she's not here. Someone bombed the Italian."
I mean,
restaurant.
it's
good. It's gone.
It's good that he took the chance and went and did it.
Yeah.
I'm glad he did, and like, yeah, I'm glad he did. I'm glad he showed up, and also when he made the speech, his mother, Cherry Jones, he's like the son of the record. He's like the record company's son, who's like an inherit the record company. He's got two women at the after party heavily pressuring him,
very ready to go, very down to clown.
Both of them at once. They're just like,
well, one of the girls says like I can be in front and the other one's like I can be behind. Like I was like, that's like,
and this is also
he wants a Tiny Tim.
He wants to get Tiny Tim, and he just goes, "Oh, I'm a sandwich." That's a line that he says, and then this is right after the bartender says to him, "I get off at 1." So ladies are just throwing it at him the whole time. And then he's like, I gotta go. And does he run to Little Italy?
Sprints.
Also, this movie very much focuses on Midtown Manhattan, which is interesting because not a lot of movies, you don't get to see the magic of Midtown a lot.
Then SJP takes a horse and carriage down.
From everyone knows they're in the prop closet of Radio City. She gets one out of the prop closet.
And then she shows up and she's like, where have you been? He's like, I was about to have a threesome, but I decided maybe I need to grow up because that's usually how I celebrate New Year's every year, by banging two girls at the same time. But I've waited this whole year.
And then the bartender shows up.
And they connect. That's like kind of the, I mean, she's kind of the apex of she's the climax of the film. Our girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And that's it.
And that's it. That's New Year's Eve.
I think
it ends with, I don't remember what it is, but it ends with some sort of thing of like, it's a time for like forgiveness and second chances and a really great party. And then they show this party. And also we forgot to mention that Penny Marshall's randomly in the movie and says, "Are you an actress?" And the girl goes, "I am." She goes, "Well, act like a waitress and get me a drink." There's so many lines like that. And Penny Marshall's in the after party scene.
Gary Marshall's sister, I bet.
Oh, maybe it is.
And
also, I realized something that we said earlier was wrong. That was actually the voice of Lisa Simpson, not Bart Simpson. It was Yeardley Smith.
So,
but this woman from The Simpsons, yeah.
Well, why don't we already gave it the Cosmo rating. Why don't we each say a New Year's resolution and then we can wish everyone a happy New Year.
Oh gosh.
What do you think?
Oh,
John,
I would love that.
John, what do you have a New Year's resolution?
Yes. I don't usually do resolutions. I am going to read 10 pages every day, no matter what.
Wow.
Of books,
that's cool.
Which would be, a lot of pages. That's my goal.
1,650 pages.
Yeah. So my cousin does that. He was not a big reader. I'm already like, I would say like 8 out of 10 reader, but there are a couple days that go by where I don't read. And and I'm going to do that. And I'm really excited for that. What about you guys?
Cory, what about you?
I don't really know one. I was gonna, I had a goal to watch a certain amount of movies this past year. and I achieved that. I was supposed to read a certain amount of books. I didn't achieve that. I was like 3 books shy of my goal. So I think, I think I'm going to make $1 million this year. I think that's what it is.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to make $1 million. No, I think I'm going to, I always like,
had $1 million.
They were in it. Bare Naked Ladies were in it. They ran BCam the whole time. I think I'm going to set a goal of reading that I'm going to hit. And I also think I'm going to start playing piano because I started playing piano last year, and then I had to give my piano away because it didn't fit because I moved. So I'm going to start playing piano again.
I love that.
Yeah.
Kevin?
I'm going to have something that has to do with running. I don't know what the numbers are, but this year I ran 35 miles on one day, one race thing with my friend. And in June, I ran 100 miles. And I just ran like a lot more. And also I was like, it was pretty essential to like my health, mental health during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And it made me kind of want to run like an Ironman, like a 50 miler. And it also just made me want to be like, I know some people that run like, even if they run 1 mile, they run every single day. And there's something to do with that I'm like, I need to clarify what it is, but it's going to be something to do with running and reading and writing. My 3 R's, even though one's a W. So,
that's now that that's really good, and it's amazing that you ran 35 miles that one day.
Yeah, it's insane.
And now that you're saying all that, I'm like, I want to take the piano one back because I want to think about my New Year's resolution.
Well, yeah, but you just sprung that on us pretty fast there, Kevin. I need to think about him too because I want a writing one as well, which,
we'll
have to get back. I'll have to get back.
I'm going to swim again too. I can't wait to swim.
It's been an amazing year with you podcast listeners. Thank you so much for going with us.
Thank you so much.
We're going to be doing pods with SJP and with Cynthia. Mm-hmm. We're going to watch the movies. We got more cool stuff planned this year. And thanks for listening. And if you want some extra episodes, subscribe to our Patreon because we are going to be doing more and more episodes there. And we already have like 18 or 20 up right now, and so please do that, and it'll help support what we're doing next in 2021.
Yep. Yeah, and let us know if you like this and what other movies you would want us to watch besides Valentine's Day, because we're clearly going to watch that movie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, happy New Year to both of you guys.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy 2021 coming up.
This is going to be next year is going to be a good one.
We'll put this year behind us, and we'll look forward to a brighter future with you bros. Can't wait.
Here's
be forgotten. Bye.
Hey, do you sing for Jensen?
Bye.
Later, taters.
Later.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Kevin James Doyle, and Jon Sieber. The show is produced by me, Jeremy Balon, and narrated by Katie Sieber. This podcast is part of the Seltzer Kings Network. Check out all their great podcasts at seltzerkings.com. You can find the boys on their socials at The Bradshaw Boys or on their website at thebradshawboys.com. And as always, if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.